Hey VC, time for another update. Got a few records to show you. This isn't necessarily new stuff. Just pulled out a little grab bag to talk about some things I'd thought about recently and thought you might like. Here's one, XTC's Mummer. I pulled this out not only because I love XTC and I think they're one of the best bands that sort of carried on the Beatles ethos of accessible experimentation and pushing pop song structures to their limits while maintaining a certain amount of beauty and musical intelligence. It was a sort of a run-on sentence. I forgot how I started it, but it doesn't really matter. Point is, they're one of the best, and this is a great album. It's sort of their pastoral album, which kind of lines up next to The Big Express, which is kind of their industrial counterpart, which came out the following year, I think. And it's kind of overlooked, I think, but I wanted to point it out because it is really a great sounding record. And this is the Geffen release, American release. And I don't know if it was originally on Virgin in the UK, but I can't imagine it sounds much better than this one. This really is a well-recorded album, and most of their albums were well-recorded albums, especially after this point. I mean, English Settlement is 2, and on from there, maybe. Orange and Lemons, I think, takes a little bit of a step back. It's got too much of that late 80s, early 90s sheen to it that I think just kind of hinders it from a sound point of view. It's a great album, song-wise, and so is this. But this is, just check it out if you haven't got it on vinyl. Again, the American copies just fine. It really, really sounds great. So figured I'd point that out. The classical one for today is this one, Bolero, on London, and I just pull it out because it's a London release. It's a really nice recording, but these London Phase 4 stereos, I have a couple of them, and they really have a nice sound. They go into some detail about the process in here, and I used to love when they used to hype, how they recorded the albums, and they've got kind of a picture of a mixing console going into the tape, and that's when people cared about stuff like this, which I guess they're starting to again. Hence, here we are. But I was just listening to this, and it sounds really, really nice. So these London releases are very good. Here's one that I saw someone pull out recently. Can't remember who it was. Maybe I've seen it a couple different places come up, but of course, it's "Low" by David Bowie, and which of course with the great on the side here, the what do you call it? The side, it says what does it say? My Bloody Valentine. Something anything. Looks like a couple letters maybe got squashed off there. I can't remember, but presumably that's where My Bloody Valentine came up with their name. But I wanted to point this out because I had an American copy of this. I think it was on Black RCA, but I can't be sure because I've since given it away, and so I don't have it to compare. But this is a German pressing on Black and Gray RCA. It's called RCA International on the label. Um, I'm trying to find it on here. I'm fairly positive this was German. Yeah, made in Germany. Yeah. Um, and when I got this, and then compared it to the American, it was like night and day. Night and day. Sometimes the UK presses are just a little bit better, and it's nice to get them because you get that little extra presence, a little extra life to them because of the quality of what they did, and maybe in a more original source. It's hard to say what it is, but in this case, it was really, really dramatic. Anybody could hear it. So if you have an American copy of this and you're a fan of this record, and this might be my favorite David Bowie album. I love the Berlin period. I love Station to Station. I mean, I love Hunky Dory and Spiders too, but if I'm going to go to listen to something, it's probably going to be this, or Lodger, or Heroes, or Station to Station. But if you only have the American copy of this, try to seek this out. Either the German, I assume the UK is just as good, but I don't know. But I was able to find this, and it really is dramatic. Now I don't know if I had a later pressing of the American version, so maybe the first pressing is better. I don't know. It's hard to tell if you're listening to something to say, well, does it sound a little drab? But it was like layers had come off playing this. Picked up this week, and it's a Mo-Fi of Gets Gilberto, of course, the classic album, and it sounds amazing. And I happen to have, I didn't realize, I've forgotten, I happen to have an original copy of this on Verve, and it's in pretty decent shape for a 1964 record. This may be a second run, but it was pressed in '64. I was able to verify, and I think this sounds better. I think especially if you listen to the hi-hat, that's gently kind of playing throughout the whole album, kind of a steady pulse. It's a little more revealed on here than it is on the original. Again, on this copy, anyway. Maybe because it's so old, I don't know. But this sounds really great, but playing them side by side, that's the thing that stood out to me the most. Maybe the bass is a little bit more present on here, and that might be a good or bad thing, depending on your preference, but just listening to the hi-hat, it was, again, like some veils had been lifted. So, again, of the two, I'm probably going to be pulling out the Mo-Fi more often than the original. And I wanted to point this out. It happens to be playing now in the background as one that, a lot of people are not likely to have heard of. It came out in, I don't know, 2005, 6, something like that. And was released on vinyl on Sub Pop. And I just think this album is fantastic. It's Love is Laughter's fifth. Love is Laughter. Love as Laughter is the name of the band. And Laughter's Fifth is the name of the album. And it's, imagine like the sort of like peak era, Rolling Stones-ish, kind of ramshackle, just although there's not as many people in the band, just guitar, a couple guitars, bass, drums, that's it. And they just wrote some good songs and they just play them, and they play the heck out of them, and with a lot of feeling, and it's not polished, but it's just very, it's just like it's. I'd written a review of this for NoRipcord.com back in the day, and I had said that the best rock and roll is like, it sounds like it's about to blow apart at any moment. You think of this Rolling Stones, you think of like Rip This Joint, or the Clash's Complete Control. Something that, like, if someone were to just lose the momentum for a second, the whole thing would fall apart. And that's kind of what this sounds like at its best. And the songs are just really good. And I could play a little seconds of it. This is not, maybe not the highlight of the album, but
without a scratch.
And that's probably the worst song on the album. I'm slightly joking, but actually it's probably one of my least favorite songs on the album. But it's still great, and the whole thing is just great. And there's really some high points on here, very intense. So I'd check it out. If you want to download a little bit, check it out. You don't want to buy the vinyl right away, but I can't, I wish more people knew about this. That's all. So here I am spreading the gospel of Love Is Laughter. Next time, well, I don't know about next time, but soon, I think I'm going to start publishing more of the interviews that I've done in the past, because I think you guys might be interested in them. Next one I'll try to put up is an interview I did with Ken Scott, the engineer who worked on With the Beatles on the White Album and Let It Be. And of course he worked with David Bowie during Hunky Dory and Supertramp, Crime of the Century. You probably know who Ken Scott is. I don't have to tell you, but I had a great interview with him. And I'll put that up soon so you guys can check that out. Alright, see you later.